night draws in, and Renfield begins to dig up Lucy's grave, where, after hitting the coffin, he then opens it, where she is asleep, but then soon awakens. She then grabs Renfield as she is about to bite into him. Dracula says, "No! You do not feed on the familiar, Lucy. But I have got you this." Presenting her a cat, Lucy bites into it and starts sucking its blood dry. And then Dracula tells her, "Now, my sweet, you want to feed on fresh blood. Then I can take you to that, my child." As the day draws and becomes bright, Dracula goes to visit Mina, saying, "Miss Murray, how are you today?" "I'm fine," said Mina. "I'm heading to Budapest to find my fiancé, Jonathan. He's been ill, but I think he's well enough to travel. But I'm going to see him regardless." "You are?" "Yes. I hope you understand, Dracula. I mean, you're a kind, sweet man. But I'm engaged to Jonathan and, well, I hope to marry him as soon as possible. I hope you can understand, Dracula." "I can. Yes, of course. You can go to him." Dracula then feels sadness, but then that sadness soon turns into a moment of rage as it festers inside of him until he is greeted by Abraham, saying, "Dracula, oh, Dr. Van Helsing, what are you doing here?" "Oh, she did not want to, well, be on her own, given that she buried her friend. And also, I kept watch whilst Dr. Seward and Arthur and Quincy both were looking for the monster." "I see. Look, how long are we going to keep this charade up?" "What charade?" "I know it's you. I know you're that monster that I saw in the Demeter. You look human, but I can feel your presence. What is going on with me? Why do I feel things that you feel, see things that you see? Did something happen when I was pierced by that spike when you were stabbed in the ship?" "I honestly do not know what you are talking about." Then Van Helsing holds a cross to him. With his faith, Dracula turns away, saying, "What's the matter? It's just a cross. 2 bits of wood." "Well, what's wrong?" I just not want to look. Please, I have to go. Something's going on with your blood. We have a connection now, you and me. And I know, and I will kill you." "Of course you will kill me." "Of course you will," he says in a sarcastic manner. Dracula then leaves. With it being daylight, his powers are not strong and he is not as powerful. So then gets into a carriage where he then says to Lucy, who sat in a dark shaded side of it, "Are you ready for your first real human kill, my child?" "Yes, master," Lucy said, now a vampire. Meanwhile, at the cemetery, Quincy, Seward, and Arthur look, puzzled why someone would rob her grave. Then Abraham joins them, saying, "Miss Murray has gone on the train. She's heading to Budapest to, well, collect Jonathan." "Yes, well," Abraham said, Seward, "it seems that Miss Lucy's grave is empty. What could be the meaning behind this? There's only one thing. She has now become a vampire." "A vampire?" "Yes, as you know, vampires can convert humans into the undead. When a vampire feeds on a human's blood and then transfers all the blood they took from them back to them, it can turn them into a vampire. If you see Lucy, we need to kill her." "But she's already dead." "I know. Look, Lucy has become a vampire. If you see her, well, that's not her. Her soul is gone, and now she is a monster, a puppet to this creature Dracula." "Dracula?" "Yes. I have every instinct in my guts that this Count Dracula who purchased Carfax Abbey is the vampire." "How can you be sure of it?" said Seward. "There's something I haven't told you, Free. But how I got here, I sailed on the Demeter. I lent my services to the crew in exchange for, well, to pay my way back here. Only on board there was a creature, a blood-sucking demon, a vampire I believe to be Dracula. When I was fighting him, some of the crew stabbed him with a metal rod or something, and it pierced my shoulder, transferring some of his blood into me. No, don't worry, I'm not going to turn. I don't have that kind of blood in me. Plus, he never drank from me. But I have a connection to him, and I've been feeling it ever since. He may be disguised as an aristocrat, but I know that man, Dracula, is the monster, and I can prove it." "How can you prove it?" "I can. Just give me time. I'll think of something." Meanwhile, in Budapest, Jonathan makes a full recovery and walks again. Only as he is about to discharge, he's greeted by Mina, saying, "Jonathan, Mina, what brings you here?" "I came to find you. You had me so worried. What happened?" "That's the thing. I don't have much memory. I mean, I remember being sent out on a job and to meet with Dracula." "Wait, Dracula?" "Yes. He purchased Carfax Abbey." Why, what's going on?" "Dracula? I befriended him. He was a nice man, a good man." "Hang on, he can't be the same man. Was he old and pale?" "No, he was young and dashing. But he can't be the same man. We need to head back to London immediately. Come, Mina, we must go." Back in London, Van Helsing, Seward, Arthur, and Quincy are on patrol. wondering if they will encounter this monster. Then Quincy hears something in an alleyway. As he corners the person, it's revealed to be none other than Renfield, going, "Duh, please don't." "Mr. Renfield? You idiot, I could have killed you." "Oh, no, you can't kill me. I'm just a regular man." "What are you doing out this late?" "I should ask you the same question." "I have my reasons." "As I do." "What's going on here?" Nothing. Then, as Arthur is patrolling, he then hears something in an alleyway. He then tells whoever's hiding in the dark to reveal themselves. It's Lucy, saying, "Arthur, you smell divine, Lucy." No, you're not Lucy. You're a demon. You're what remains of my dear friend Lucy. You know, whatever's this, you're not her. "Oh, but I am. I feel the course of blood running through me. The lust, the power. I killed 2 girls the other night. Oh, they were warm, wet, and black. So much sweeter than chocolate." Then Van Helsing is there saying, "Arthur, that's not her. We need to kill her." "Don't listen to him. He doesn't know what he's saying." "I know what I'm saying." Van Helsing then holds a cross up. A cross then, having such power on her, she cowers away and reveals her fangs and lets out a huge roar. Whilst Quincy hears the sound, he then goes, "I must go." Then Renfield goes, No, you can't go. She must feed. It would please my master." "Your master? Wait, you know something, don't you? You better tell me now." Then Renfield puts up his hands, and then, "You've got me. Well done." "What are you doing?" As Renfield reaches into his pocket, where he has a small tin with a cockroach inside. He then puts the cockroach in his mouth and bites into it, triggering his inner strength. He then overpowers Quincy by beating him up and breaking his arm. Then, after doing so, he runs and flees, whilst Lucy, cowering in the corner, Van Helsing then says, "Quickly, we need to kill her. We need to drive the stake in her heart or cut off her head." "I can't do it." "Then hold this cross, for fuck's sake," said Van Helsing. Then Dr. Seward goes, "What's going on?" To his shock, he then sees Lucy. Also, with Quincy coming in saying, "It's Renfield. He's in league with this creature." "Oh my God, Lucy? It's not Lucy." Then, as Lucy pounces, Abraham puts a cross in her face, burning her. He then gets out a stake and hammers it into her chest. He then goes, "The first strike causes you to bleed. The second strike," he then hits the stake with a mallet that he carries, piercing her heart. And then saying the second strike causes paralysis. And then he hammers for a third time, killing Lucy as she withers away into dust and dies. Then Seward goes, "That was Lucy?" "No, that was a demon that took her body. But now she can rest easy." "Oh my, poor Lucy," said Seward. "Yes, gentlemen, my arm is injured." "Of course. Your arm is broken, but not too badly broken. I think we can put it in a sling and it should mend quite easily. It's not badly broken." "Who did this?" "Renfield. He calls this vampire monster master, like he's its servant." "Of course, it all makes sense. Renfield is his familiar." "What more do you know of this vampire mythology?" said Seward. "Well, I know that a vampire has a human servant to keep watch of them during the day while they sleep, to tend to their every need. In exchange, he gives them power or fixes something for them that needs fixing. Dracula must have something over Renfield. But now we know that he's in league with him. And again, how do you know it's Dracula?" "I've told you already, and I need to prove it." A few days go by, and Mina and Jonathan return, and Seward and Quincy and also Arthur explain the recent events that have happened. They then say, "Well, me and Jonathan, we decided to get married as soon as possible. Like, today if we can." Seward then "But, you haven't got a dress," and but then looks at them both and goes, "You know what, it's a fantastic idea. Let's go to the chapel." "What's this?" "Ah, Van Helsing. These two are getting married and they need witnesses. And I think we can watch them marry. Surely some good has to come out of all this." "I guess, and it is daytime. Okay then, let's have a wedding." With Arthur and Quincy as witnesses, although Quincy's arm is badly injured, he manages to show up with his arm in a sling, and witness the two wed as a shotgun wedding. They take their vows and then they kiss, whilst Renfield stares through the window and goes, "Oh no, the master is not going to be happy about this." He then goes to Dracula explaining what he saw. Dracula then, enraged and in blooded tears, cries out saying, "How could you let them do this? You ought to stop them." "I know, but I was outnumbered. I could have eaten a spider, but still, with 3 men." "You are a fool, Renfield. But you have been loyal most of the time, and you have rarely made a screw-up. I will still have Mina Murray for my bride." "Again, master, why? Why is she so important to you?" "Oh, I will tell you. I think you should know. Centuries ago, I was once a man, a prince. I had a kingdom and a loving wife and son. But then my home country was invaded by power-greedy soldiers. They took what I loved, and out of anger and retaliation, I tortured their men, impaling them through stakes. After a while, it started to become joyful to me because I knew that they were suffering for what they did to my wife and my son. I gained great pleasure from this torture by inserting stakes through their anuses, impaling him. Hold on. Wasn't that the records of Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Tepes the Third? The Prince of Romania, that mad one? But you're him? In my past life, yes. But then I wanted to destroy and kill these invaders that were the Turks. So I sold my soul. I exchanged my blood and soul for power and life eternal, as I would rule forever, but of course that did not happen. I won the war, but I lost everything. Everything except for my castle. As for showing such treachery to the Christian Church, I was exiled to the mountain where I had my castle. There I remained, and every now and then I would go out and feed on the blood of the local villagers who believed me to be a demon, which is what I am. I feel that if they think of me as a monster, then I would be a monster. Every now and then I would leave the castle and travel to different countries in Europe just to get away. And that one time I was in London where I saw you. Yes, you saved my son, and I'm forever in your debt. Yes, but don't forget who it was who saved him, and who gave you your abilities when consuming small, tiny life forms. Meanwhile, back with the others, Nina and Jonathan consummate their marriage, whilst Van Helsing looks up at the night sky. Seward, Quincy, and Arthur approach him, saying, "So you're saying, from what you told us, that this Dracula was the Prince Vlad Tepes, the Impaler that he became known as?" "I believe so, and he became this monster. From what I felt in him, I must stop him. I fear that he's after Mina." "Why is that?" "Because he thinks that Mina is his long-lost dead love reincarnate. And if he wants Mina, he will stop at nothing to get her, even if she is now married to Jonathan. I fear that he may be after her." Late in the night, Mina sleeps with Jonathan at her side. Then Dracula flies over in his bat form. He then reverts to his human-like state, where he stands on the windowsill, where he calls out to Mina. Mina, waking up thinking she's seeing things, she then sees Dracula stood on the window saying, "Count, what are you doing? Get in here now." Unknowingly inviting him in, Dracula then says, "I cannot ignore my feelings for you any longer. My heart does not beat, but it knows true love. And I must have you." "But I'm married to Jonathan." "I know, but you can start a new life with me and be one." Dracula then bites into Mina's neck as she is seduced by him. Jonathan then turns and wakes in bed, shouting in horror and shock. That is when Van Helsing, Quincy, Seward, and Arthur burst in, Dracula then hissing at them, throwing Mina onto the bed as she bleeds on her neck, and Dracula then jumps out the window and turns into his bat form. Then Dracula flies away. Abraham then going, "Damn! Now do you know it's him? Now do you believe me?" "Yes, Abraham, we do. We need to find this monster and fucking kill him." "He's heading back to Transylvania." "What?" "He's going back home. I feel it. He transferred some of his blood into me. Why do I feel this connection?" "Oh no. He seems to have consumed a lot of her blood and you said he gave you some of his blood." "Yes. Like, was feeding it me." "If we don't kill Dracula, then he could turn Mina." "Mina, can I give you something?" "What?" He then tells her to open her hand by placing a small tiny cross that burns her hand. Although not fully turned, she is beginning to show symptoms, saying if she can resist the temptation of blood for at least 72 hours, and if Dracula doesn't go near her again and fully convert her, she might still be able to revert to her human state, but only if she does not consume any blood. "What about Dracula? We must stop him before he gets back to Transylvania. You say he owns Carfax Abbey? Then we're going to go there and we are going to finish this." Dracula then starts packing things, telling Renfield to get a move on and be fast. Then he hears the door get kicked down. Then Dracula flees to the attic, where he then prepares for the three men, Quincy, Arthur, and Van Helsing and Seward, and even Jonathan. Breaking into the attic room, Seward then runs up to Dracula, but Dracula grabs him and throws him across the room, knocking him out. As for Jonathan, he puts him in a hypnotic trance, telling him to attack anyone. He then goes for Quincy, and Arthur and Abraham then do everything in their power to fight Dracula. Then they begin to notice that the daylight approaches. That is when Abraham sees a plank of wood on the window that he breaks off, trying to weaken Dracula. Dracula then manages to keep out of the light. As for Quincy, he manages to knock out Jonathan and snap him out of his trance. Then Dracula goes up to Quincy and slits his throat with his long nails. As for Van Helsing, he then throws some garlic in his face. In that moment, Van Helsing seizes the opportunity and rams a wooden stake into Dracula's heart, saying the first puncture causes blood and injury. Then, as Dracula falls to the ground, telling Arthur to open the windows, let as much sunlight in as possible, Dracula being exposed to the sunlight, Then Abraham throws the second strike, saying the second strike causes paralysis. And then the third one, it's all it takes. But I might even cut your head off as an extra precaution. Then kill me, then. As he's unable to move. Then, as Seward, Jonathan, and Arthur manage to come round, they then go, Abraham, you got him. We'll finish him off, said Seward. Van Helsing then says, no. He doesn't fear the true death, he welcomes it. You deserve a fate far worse. You're gonna wish I killed you. Then Quincy then goes as he reaches out bleeding. Seward then tries to tend to him and saying, Abraham, you've got to do something, he's bleeding out. Then Quincy saying, oh, she's going to be all right, isn't she? Mina. Yes, she'll be fine. Good. I could die knowing she's... As life leaves his body, Dracula then laughing, unable to move, but still enough to walk, to talk to them. Then Renfield comes in and manages to grab a spider from a cobweb, but before he could do anything, Harker punches him in the face, knocking him out, but also hurting his hand, saying, that is for sending me on this job. Oh, and I resign. Meanwhile, Jonathan then says, so what are we going to do with him? I think I know. Back in Whitby, in the North Sea, as the night comes in, on a boat, they put Dracula in a crate where Abraham, Seward, Arthur, and Jonathan, who is back with Mina in London, he tells Mina that it'll be all over soon. He'll be gone from our life forever. Then Van Helsing has the crate dumped into the North Sea, where he sinks to the bottom. Then Arthur says to Van Helsing, I've just had a terrible thought. What if someone finds him? Abraham then looks and says, then may God have mercy on their soul. We're done here. Yes, of course. As the morning approaches, Mina then feels no vampiric traits, no connection to Dracula, as if the connection has been lost. As for Renfield sitting in a police cell, Seward comes in and says, Mr. Renfield? Yes? Dracula is no more. He's gone. He's gone? Oh no, master. No, this is good. You're your own man now again, Mr. Enfield. No one can control you anymore. Come. You must see your family. Wait, I can see my family again. I can return to my job. Oh, I'm free. Yes, you are. You're free. Yes, I am. Oh, thank you. Later on in the day, Nina then approaches Abraham, saying, so can you feel anything anymore? No. Not since we were rid of him.
Well, is this goodbye?
No. I think I'll stay around here. Maybe even move house. But right now, I'm going to go home to my fiancée, plan our wedding, and, like I said, maybe purchase a property round here so we can always stay in touch.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It is, isn't it?
Poor Quincy.
He died fighting greatly. The only thing we can do is probably honor him and fight in his name.
Of course. And if me and Jonathan should have a son, we shall name him Quincy. He was a good man.
Yes, he was. As everything begins to return to normal, Renfield accepts Jonathan's resignation, saying, "Of course, but do bear in mind I was under the Master Dracula's control, but I'm free from it now. Are you sure I can't convince you to stay?" "No, I'll find something else to do. Me and Mina are talking about starting a family." "Of course. Well, good luck for whatever it is you plan to do next, Mr. Harker." "Thank you, Mr. Renfield." Then, as Jonathan leaves, Renfield then sits down at his desk and says, "Master, I will find you, and if it takes generations to find you, then so be it. But I will tell my story of you to my son, and tell him to pass it down to his children and their children, just so that we can keep looking for you and find you and bring you back, Master." Dracula lays at the bottom of the North Sea, trapped in a crate, where he sleeps, but then his eyes open, hoping to one day be free as he closes his eyes once again. Then Dracula awakens in a darkened room with tubes connected to him, feeding him blood. He then gets up and pulls out all the cannulas and the tubes out. And then a person walks in saying, "Dracula?" I am him. I am so fucking hungry." Then Dracula bites into the man, drinking him dry. As he breaks out the room, a whole security team comes in, and Dracula kills them all one by one, feeding on their blood. Then a woman approaches him, a woman with long white hair and a black suit, saying,
"Master."
with Dracula covered in blood, saying, "What?"
"Oh, of course, how rude of me. You probably don't know me, but, well, since my great-great-grandfather Thomas Renfield, he's been telling the story and passing it down from generation to generation. I always knew you would be real, and it did take some time to find you. The North Sea is so big and deep."
"What are you talking about? What is all this with people? Why am I seeing things that I would not see?"
"Of course. What year was it you last remember?"
"The last thing I remember, it was 1897, and I was being dumped into the North Sea."
"Of course, well, I hate to tell you this, but my great-great-grandfather lived a full life, told his story of you to my great-grandfather, and he passed it down to his son, and then to my father, then to me. I am your familiar's descendant, kind of making me your next in line for familiar.
What?
My name is Tamara Renfield, and the year is 2025. You've been asleep for about 128 years now.
128 years? All that time I have missed, and I have been sleeping. I will have my revenge. I will find the descendants.
The descendants?
Of Abraham Van Helsing.
Then, waking up in a cold sweat, a man resembling Van Helsing, breathing heavy, wakes up in the middle of the night and looks up at the moonlit sky as if he feels a connection. Then he gets a phone call from a woman resembling Mina, and also another call from a man resembling Jonathan, saying, "Did you feel something?" "Yes, I did. I don't know. I thought it was just always stories, but given that we know monsters are real, from what my father told me and his father before him, etc., I felt a presence. Not a good one either." "Could it be him?" said the young man resembling Jonathan. And the man looking like Van Helsing then says, "Yes, Stuart. I think the stories that my great-great-grandfather and your great-great-grandparents passed down to our grandparents may be true. Looks like we have to stop Dracula before he can get strong." "Then we shall do it."
"Yes, we are their descendants. Me, Matthew Van Helsing, and you two, Gloria and Stuart Harker, brother and sister and old friend.
Yes." As it is then revealed that these people are the descendants of Van Helsing and Jonathan and Mina Harker. And they must prepare to face Count Dracula.